Merry Christmas, crafters. Well, not really, but it's never too early to do your Christmas cards, is it? So for today's episode, I'm going to show you this fun Christmas card idea using the shaving foam technique, a fun technique I love doing. So I thought I would show you how to incorporate it with your Christmas cards. So we are going to be using the Spellbinders dies today, the Snowflake Pendant 2012. We're going to be using the Snowflake Pendant 2011. And we're going to be using the Create a Flake 3 from Spellbinders also. Those are the dies we're going to be using. And we're also going to be using the A4 embossing folder that I designed called Interlocking Circles. I've got a stamp set that completes the card today, which is Winter Greetings by Creative Expressions. And we're going to add a little bit extra to our shaving foam technique using the clear microbeads and the self-adhesive sticky sheets. Okay, so let's get started. So first thing, I'm going to go ahead and emboss my background, and we'll get that out of the way a little bit. So I've got my interlocking circles here and a piece of coconut white card. So we're going to open this up, and I always write my name on the top of the emboss section so I know which direction it is. And I'm going to take a little bit of removable tape, and we're going to pop this into place, just like that, closing our folder. And let's get our plates we need. We're going to be using the base plate, set that on top of that. And the top of the sandwich, I'm going to use a little piece of cardstock for a shim and the raspberry plate. Okay, and then we're going to run it through our grand caliper. Let me move a few items there. Just one pass through gives you a lovely emboss with these folders. It's nice. You can do large pieces, you can do small pieces, you can do a huge piece and cut it up into sections and use it for later. It's really nice having the bigger folders for this. So here we go. We've got this piece taped. Let me just pop this to the side now and just very gently remove your removable tape because it's actually been embossed onto that. So you've got that piece right there. See the detail in that, it's really nice. Okay, and I'll tell you what, I think I'm going to go ahead and put this onto the background of my card, so we'll get started layering up. I've used a little bit of mounting foam, and I'm just going to peel my pieces off. Get a hold of that, and put that right on the top. And that looks pretty straight. You can take a little more time when you do yours. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. Now, next I'm going to do the actual shaving foam technique. So what I like to do is, because it's a little messy, I'm going to take a piece of my wax paper and I'm going to lay that down and cover my surface. I'm going to use just a plastic lid to a box because I think that's easy enough to use. And then what you want to do is just pick any brand of shaving cream. The least expensive, the better. Give it a good shake and then spray it in your pan. And depending on how big of a piece that you want to do, is how much you need to cover. So that's probably way more than we need. But I'm going to give a little bit of a smoothing out of it with the side of my ruler, just to kind of, it's like frosting. It's kind of fun to play with. There we go. So you can kind of see that a little bit better. Okay, now the next step is I've got some re-inkers here. Now this is the Distress Ink re-inkers by Tim Holtz. This one is Tumbled Glass. I've also got Spun Sugar. And I'm using Stormy Sky, but you can use any colors you like, okay? So what you need to do is just take a couple of drops and drop them around your shaving foam and add the next color. And just randomly all over. I don't think we need to go all the way to the edge on this, so we'll just do the center section. And then this one is your blue, your lighter blue. Doesn't look like much yet, but wait, you're going to have such a good time with this. And if you find you need to put in a few extra colors as you go, you can do that. That's not a problem. So next, I use the end of a paintbrush when I do this. I think it works really well. You might have a stir stick or something else you could use, but you just want to randomly swirl through these and pick up the color and move it around so it kind of gets a marbleized look to it. Now the trick to this is whatever you see here is exactly what you're going to get on your paper. So if you have big clumps of color like that, you're going to have a big clump of color on your paper. So you don't want to mix it so much that it gets muddy, but you want to keep it mixing so that you've got all those colors going through there. Now I'll tell you what, I would like just a tiny bit more pink on mine. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add a couple more drops in here. And you can do that. So we just mix it a little bit more, like that. And what do you think? I think that's looking pretty, right? Like that. Okay. Maybe one more right through the center there. Okay, so now I'll set this down on my wax paper. I've got a piece of coconut white card, okay? And I'm going to press this into this. And just make sure that I make contact all the way down with that shaving foam. All right? I'm going to peel this up, set this to the side, and at this point you might think, oh dear Lord, what have I done? That's a mess. That's an absolute mess. No, it's not. So all you need to do is take a flat edge. I like to use the ruler and squish it away. And look at that. Is that absolutely gorgeous? You've got a beautiful marbled piece just from a simple piece of white cardstock that you can use now. Now, because this does need to dry a little bit, you either need to use a heat tool or you do need to let it dry a tiny bit. I've done one in advance, so let me clean this up and move some things out of the side. And this is why I use the wax paper, because then I can just wipe it up and throw it in the bin. Okay, so I've got one ahead of time that I've already done. And what I've done is I've added a piece of our self-adhesive sticky sheets onto this. So I'm just going to take my microbeads and I'm going to peel this layer up. Let me get it started with my pokey tool there. And then I'm going to bead it. So now you've got a lovely swirly pattern, but you've got the texture from the microbeads coming through too. Let me show you. And if you've missed a spot, just pop it back in. And there we go. And you do want to press them on really nicely so you know they're well adhered and it won't be falling off your card. Set that aside and you can see how pretty that is. Isn't that gorgeous? So you've got a lovely pattern there. So let's go ahead and build this up onto our card. I'm going to use a little bit of mounting foam for that. Put that onto the back. I like to have just a little bit of dimension on my cards, and the mounting foam does that for me. And then we're going to peel the backing off. And we're going to put it up about, oh, just a little bit down from the center, I think. Right about like that, I think. That'll work. You can take a little bit more time when you do your card. So ahead of time, I went ahead and cut some of the snowflakes to be used. These are really, really pretty. And the nice thing about all the Spellbinder snowflake die packs are that they mix and match. So I've got all three of them, and I'm using little bits from each of them. So I'm going to start out with this one, which is the snowflake from 2012, I believe. I'm going to pop that on there with a little bit of mounting foam. I've got a little bit of mounting foam on this snowflake, and I'm going to offset this one so that it's just pointing out and raise the different direction. And I think I'll use a little bit of glue on this last one. And this is part of the Create a Flake, and I'm going to put a tiny bit of the Cosmic Shimmer glue in here. Let me get that started. Pop that on there. There we go. Give that a second just to kind of get it to set up. And while I'm doing that, I've gone ahead and stamped my sentiment, which is from the Winter Greetings. It's Let It Snow. And I'm going to just do a tiny bit of little inking. Oh, wrong one. I'm going to use the Stormy Sky. distress ink and a little piece of cut and dry foam here. And I'm just going to ink along the edges. Just kind of highlights it, brings it out a little bit, tiny bit more, like that. And I'm going to take and put a little bit of a forked in on the edge here. So we're going to cut it this way, and just do a little one that way. That should be enough. A little bit of a fork. And how about, let's use a glue dot for that. And we're going to tuck that under our snowflake and just kind of have it pointing out a little bit. I think probably just lifting up that edge there. That's a nice, yeah, let's tell you what, let's make it just a tiny bit shorter there. Stick it out right about here. And we'll put our last little bit of our snowflake on there. Like that, get it up to here, and finish it off with, how about an 8mm white pearl? I think that will work. And I generally will put a little glue on these, even though they're self-adhesive, just so they take a little bit more handling. And put that into place. There we go. And I think we've finished. We've got a lovely Christmas card with a really different technique. It's not quite so traditional, but you know, you can change the colors to anything that suits you. But so much fun. You could have your kids help you with this one. It's a blast. Hope you enjoyed today's episode of Crafting My Style. Bye-bye.